Lieutenant Marcus Sullivan's head throbbed as he regained consciousness, the acrid smell of burning circuitry filling his lungs. Warning lights bathed the cockpit in an eerie red glow as he assessed his situation. His research vessel, the Stellar Horizon, had crashed on Kepler 186f after being caught in an unexpected gravitational anomaly. "Computer, damage report," he croaked, tasting blood from where he'd bitten his cheek during impact. "Main engines offline. Life support at 60% capacity. Hull integrity compromised in sections 3 through 7, the AI responded in its characteristically calm voice. Marcus unbuckled his harness and pulled himself up, wincing at the pain in his ribs. Through the cracked viewscreen, he could see the alien landscape of Kepler 186f stretching out before him. Twin moons hung low in the purple sky, casting long shadows across the rocky terrain. This wasn't how his classified research mission was supposed to go. He had just begun gathering his emergency supplies when a flash of light in the distance caught his attention. Something was falling from the sky, trailing smoke and debris. Marcus watched in amazement as the object, clearly some kind of spacecraft, made a controlled but rough landing about 2 kilometers from his position. "Computer, scan that crash site. Any signs of life?" "Affirmative. One life form detected. Biosignatures do not match any known Earth species." Marcus's heart raced. First contact was supposed to be handled by trained diplomats, not a research pilot with a crashed ship. But given his situation, he might not have a choice. He grabbed his emergency pack, environment suit, and sidearm, just in case. The trek to the other crash site was grueling. Kepler 186f's gravity was slightly higher than Earth's, and the rocky terrain was treacherous. By the time he reached the vessel, his muscles were burning from the exertion. The ship was unlike anything he'd ever seen. Its sleek, organic curves suggested an advanced civilization, though the hull was now scarred and damaged. As he approached, a panel slid open with a hiss of escaping air. Marcus raised his hands in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace as a figure emerged. His breath caught in his throat. The alien before him was remarkably humanoid, though clearly not human. Her skin had a subtle silvery sheen, and her hair seemed to shift colors like an aurora. But it was her eyes that captivated him. They were entirely silver, with no visible pupils, yet somehow expressed a depth of intelligence and emotion he hadn't expected. She spoke, her voice melodic but incomprehensible. When he shook his head, she touched a device on her wrist. A soft light pulsed, and when she spoke again, her words were translated into English. "I am Scout Commander Celine Vialari of the Astrian Star Command. My ship was damaged in an ion storm. Are you native to this world?" "No," Marcus replied, relief flooding through him at the possibility of communication. "Lieutenant Marcus Sullivan, Earth Alliance. I crashed here after encountering a gravitational anomaly. My ship is damaged as well." Celine's expression shifted to one of curiosity. "Earth Alliance? We have observed your world from afar but have not made contact. This is unexpected." "That makes 2 of us," Marcus said with a slight smile. "My ship's life support is failing. If you're willing, maybe we could help each other." She studied him for a long moment, her silver eyes unblinking. "The atmosphere here is toxic to both our species. Night is coming, and with it, temperatures will drop below survivable levels. It would be logical to combine our resources." As if to emphasize her point, a distant howl echoed across the landscape, followed by several answering calls. Marcus tensed, his hand instinctively moving toward his weapon. "The local fauna is aggressive," Celine stated. "My ship's sensors detected several large predatory species in the area. We should not remain exposed." They agreed to salvage what they could from both ships and set up a base camp in a nearby cave system Celine's sensors had detected. As they worked together, Marcus found himself constantly stealing glances at his alien companion. Despite her otherworldly appearance, there was something fascinating about her movements, her expressions, the way she approached problems with both precision and creativity. The cave proved to be a natural fortress, with only one entrance and a fresh water source deep inside. They set up emergency shelters and combined their power sources to establish a sustainable life support bubble. As they worked, they exchanged information about their respective missions, though Marcus noticed Celine was careful to avoid certain details, just as he was with his own classified objectives. As the alien sun set, casting spectacular colors across the purple sky, they sat near their makeshift camp, sharing their respective emergency rations. Marcus found the Astrian food packets surprisingly palatable, while Celine seemed intrigued by his freeze-dried coffee. "Your species is younger than mine in terms of space travel," she observed, "yet you've adapted remarkably well. Most races take centuries to achieve what humanity has done in decades." "We're stubborn that way," Marcus replied. "When we set our minds to something, we don't give up easily." "I'm beginning to see that," she said, and he could have sworn he saw a smile play across her lips. "We should rest. Tomorrow we can assess the damage to our ships and begin repairs." As Marcus lay in his shelter that night, listening to the strange sounds of an alien world, he couldn't help but think about the extraordinary turn his mission had taken. He'd been sent to study gravitational anomalies, and instead, he'd made first contact with an advanced civilization. But more than that, he found himself drawn to Celine in a way he couldn't explain. There was something about her that called to him, her intelligence, her strength, the hint of warmth beneath her professional exterior. He knew he should maintain his distance, focus on repairs, and complete his mission. But as he drifted off to sleep, his last thoughts were of silver eyes and aurora hair, and the strange twist of fate that had brought them together on this distant world. In the darkness outside their cave, something large moved among the rocks, its multiple eyes reflecting the starlight. But the combined defensive systems from both their ships kept watch, ensuring that for now at least, they were safe to rest and dream of what tomorrow might bring. Dawn broke over Kepler 186f's horizon in a cascade of crimson and violet, casting long shadows through the crystalline formations that dotted the landscape. Marcus wiped the sweat from his brow as he worked on the damaged power coupling of his ship, stealing glances at Celine as she gracefully navigated the exterior of her vessel, her environmental suit somehow making her seem even more ethereal. "The ion convergence matrix is completely fused," she called out, her translated voice carrying a note of frustration. "Without a replacement, my ship's quantum drive will never achieve stability." Marcus straightened up, considering their options. "My ship uses different technology, but maybe we could adapt something. The Earth Alliance has gotten pretty good at improvising." Celine climbed down from her ship, moving with perfect precision despite the higher gravity. "Your species' ability to adapt is remarkable. It reminds me of stories from our early days of space exploration." They had been working together for 3 days now, and Marcus had noticed Celine gradually becoming more open, more willing to share details about her civilization. As they gathered their tools and headed back to the cave for their midday rest, he decided to probe a little deeper. Inside their pressurized sanctuary, they removed their environmental suits. Celine's aurora-like hair shifted colors in the artificial light, a display that Marcus found increasingly mesmerizing. "You mentioned your early days of space exploration," he said, offering her a portion of their combined rations. "How long has your civilization been among the stars?" Celine was quiet for a moment, her silver eyes distant. "We achieved faster-than-light travel over 5 centuries ago. It was a golden age of discovery and advancement. But then..." She trailed off, her expression darkening. "Then what?" "We encountered the Drachnids," she said, her voice hardening. "A species that believes technological supremacy gives them the right to dominate all others. They attacked without warning, destroying 3 of our outer colonies before we even understood what was happening. Marcus felt a chill despite the cave's regulated temperature. You're at war with them? For the past 70 years. They're relentless, calculating, and utterly without mercy. Each year, they push further into our territory, assimilating or destroying everything in their path. She looked at him intently. Your Earth is still hidden from them, but it won't remain so forever. The implications of her words hung heavy in the air. Marcus shared his own stories of humanity's struggles, the climate wars, the unified space program, the challenges of becoming a spacefaring civilization. Celine listened with genuine interest, asking questions that revealed her deep understanding of societal development. Their conversation was interrupted by a violent tremor that shook the cave. Dust and small rocks rained down from the ceiling as they rushed to check their sensor equipment. Massive electrical storm approaching, Marcus announced, studying the readings. And it's like nothing I've ever seen before. Celine's expression was grim. The planetary alignment of the twin moons creates unique atmospheric conditions. We need to secure our ships or they'll be torn apart. They raced against time, working in perfect synchronization to anchor their vessels and reinforce their cave's shields. The storm hit with devastating force, bolts of purple-white lightning carved paths across the sky, and wind strong enough to lift boulders howled past their shelter. As they monitored their defenses, a proximity alarm blared. The storm had driven some of the planet's wildlife toward their cave. Through the shield's shimmer, Marcus could see massive, 6-limbed creatures with crystalline growths protruding from their bodies. Razor stalkers, Celine said, drawing a sleek weapon. They hunt in packs and can sense electrical fields. The storm will make them more aggressive. The creatures began probing their defenses, their crystalline appendages scraping against the energy field. Marcus and Celine stood ready, knowing that if the shield failed, they would have to fight for their lives. Hours passed in tense vigilance. They took turns watching for shield weaknesses while sharing more about their lives. Marcus told her about growing up in the Seattle arcology, watching the stars through its massive environmental domes and dreaming of exploration. Celine spoke of her training as a scout, the rigorous preparations for deep space missions, and her secret love of Earth's transmitted entertainment signals, which had reached Astrian space decades ago. I never understood why humans danced until I saw it in your broadcasts, she admitted, her eyes twinkling. It seemed so chaotic, yet beautiful. I could teach you, Marcus offered, surprising himself. Once we're somewhere with normal gravity, of course. A small smile played across her lips. I would like that. The storm began to subside as the moon set, and the razor stalkers retreated to their territories. During their final equipment check, Marcus noticed Celine becoming increasingly tense. What's wrong? He asked. She hesitated before speaking. Marcus, there's something I need to tell you. About my real mission. But before she could continue, their sensors detected a new threat. A massive heat signature was emerging from beneath the planet's surface, heading directly for their position. Subterranean predator, Celine announced, already moving toward her equipment. Much larger than the razor stalkers. Marcus quickly gathered their weapons and portable shields. How do we fight something like that? We don't, she replied, her voice tight with concern. We run. As they rushed to gather essential supplies, Marcus caught Celine looking at him with an expression he couldn't quite read, something between guilt and longing. Whatever she had been about to tell him would have to wait. For now, they needed to focus on survival. They escaped the cave just as massive crystalline claws erupted from the ground where they had been standing. As they ran across the alien landscape, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that their greatest challenges lay not in the physical dangers around them, but in the secrets still unsaid between them. The creature's roar echoed across the plains, and somewhere in the distance, another answered. On this hostile world, Marcus and Celine had only each other to rely on, a human and an Astrian, their fates intertwined by chance or destiny, running together beneath alien moons while the whispers of a greater conflict echoed across the stars. They found shelter in a narrow canyon after hours of running from the subterranean creature. The massive beast had finally given up the chase when they crossed a wide river of liquid methane, its crystalline form unable to navigate the volatile fluid. Now, as they set up a temporary camp within a small cave, the weight of unspoken words hung between them. Marcus watched as Celine methodically checked their remaining supplies, her movements lacking their usual fluid grace. Something was troubling her deeply, and he suspected it had to do with what she'd tried to tell him before they were interrupted. "Celine," he said softly, "I think it's time we finished our conversation." She stilled, her silver eyes fixed on the portable shield generator in her hands. The aurora of her hair had dimmed to muted blues and grays, reflecting her mood. "Yes," she finally replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "You deserve to know the truth." She turned to face him, her expression a mixture of determination and regret. "My presence here wasn't an accident, Marcus. The ion storm that damaged my ship, I flew into it deliberately." Marcus felt his chest tighten. "Why?" "Because I needed a plausible reason to be in this sector. My real mission." She paused, visibly struggling with her words. "I was sent to gather intelligence on Earth's defensive capabilities. The Astrian High Command believes that when the Drachnids push further into our territory, we'll need to establish new colonies. Earth's solar system is one of the few viable options within reach." The revelation hit Marcus like a physical blow. He stood up, pacing the small cave as he processed her words. "You were scouting Earth for an invasion?" "An emergency relocation," she corrected, though her tone suggested she no longer believed the distinction mattered. "The plan was to approach Earth's governments first, but if they refused to cooperate, you'd take what you needed," Marcus finished, his voice hard. "Just like the Drachnids would." Celine flinched at the comparison. "We're nothing like them. We don't seek to destroy or dominate. We just want to survive. By sacrificing another species if necessary." Marcus ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "How many worlds have you relocated to before?" "None," she said firmly. "This was to be the first. But Marcus, you have to understand, I've seen what the Drachnids do to conquered worlds. The High Command is desperate. They believe that without new territories, our civilization will be exterminated within a decade." Marcus wanted to stay angry, to hold on to the sense of betrayal, but he could see the genuine pain in her eyes. "Why are you telling me this now?" Celine stood and walked to him, her movement almost hesitant. "Because everything changed when I met you. Working with you, learning about your people, seeing humanity through your eyes, it made me question everything I thought I knew." She reached out but stopped short of touching him. "Your species is young, yes, but there's something remarkable about humans. You face impossible odds with determination and hope. You adapt, you innovate, you dream of better futures even in the darkest times." A warning chirp from their sensors interrupted the moment. Celine rushed to check the readings, her posture stiffening. "An Astrian patrol ship has entered the system. They must have detected our emergency beacon." Marcus felt his heart race. "How long?" "Hours at most." "Marcus." She turned back to him, her eyes intense. "I have to make a choice now. If I report back, I'll have to tell them about Earth's vulnerabilities. But if I don't..." She left the consequences unspoken. "You'd be betraying your people," Marcus said, understanding the weight of her decision. "Perhaps. Or maybe I'd be saving them from becoming what they fear most." She squared her shoulders. "The High Command's plan is wrong. Earth doesn't deserve to be sacrificed for our survival. There has to be another way." Before Marcus could respond, multiple alerts blared from their equipment. The subterranean creature had returned, bringing others of its kind. The ground beneath them trembled with their approach. "We need to move," Marcus said, already gathering their essential gear. But this conversation isn't over. They worked quickly to break camp, their movements hampered by the unstable ground. As they prepared to leave their shelter, Celine grabbed Marcus's arm. "I need you to know something," she said urgently. "Everything else, my mission, my orders, that was duty. But what's grown between us, that's real. I've never felt anything like it." Marcus looked into her silver eyes and saw the truth there. Despite everything, despite the secrets and the complex politics of their civilizations, what they shared was genuine. He took her hand in his, marveling at how natural it felt despite their differences. "Then we'll figure this out together," he said. "Your people don't have to face the Drachnids alone. Maybe that's the real reason we found each other." A thunderous roar shook the canyon walls, followed by the sound of cracking rock. They had to run again, but now they ran with purpose. The Astrian patrol ship was coming, and they needed a plan. Their time together had shown them that their species could work together, could understand and support each other. Perhaps their accidental meeting could lead to something greater, an alliance that could stand against the Drachnid threat. As they emerged from the canyon, the twin moons illuminated their path. Behind them, massive crystalline forms burst from the ground, their faceted bodies catching and refracting the moonlight. Ahead lay uncertainty, but they faced it together, two beings from different worlds united by something stronger than duty or fear. They had hours at most to prepare for the arrival of the Astrian ship. Hours to decide their fate and potentially the fate of both their species. But as they ran beneath the alien sky, their hands still clasped together, both Marcus and Celine knew that whatever came next, their greatest strength lay in their unity. The night was alive with danger and possibility, and somewhere above them, a ship was drawing closer, bringing with it a moment of truth that would test everything they had come to feel for each other. The Astrian patrol ship would arrive in less than 6 hours. Marcus and Celine worked frantically at their crash sites, combining salvageable parts from both vessels into one functioning spacecraft. Their plan was ambitious, perhaps impossible, but it was their only chance. "The quantum matrix from my ship should be compatible with your fusion drive," Celine said, her fingers dancing across a holographic interface. "It won't be elegant, but it could give us enough power to break orbit." Marcus emerged from beneath a panel, his face streaked with mechanical fluid. "If we survive that long, the radiation output alone could tear the hull apart. Then we'll reinforce it." Celine's silver eyes met his with fierce determination. "We've beaten everything this planet has thrown at us. We're not giving up now." They had managed to drag both ships closer together, using repurposed gravplates to move the heavier components. The hybrid vessel they were creating looked strange, a combination of Earth's utilitarian design and Astrian organic architecture. Like them, it was a bridge between two worlds. As they worked, their sensor array picked up a new signal. Celine's expression darkened as she analyzed the data. "That energy signature, it's Drachnid," she said, her voice tense. "An automated probe. It must have followed my ship's trail when I was attacked." Marcus checked his readings. "How long until it reaches us?" 2 hours, maybe less. "And once it identifies an Earth vessel." She didn't need to finish the sentence. "The probe would transmit their location to the Drachnid fleet, potentially exposing both their civilizations." They redoubled their efforts, their movements perfectly synchronized after days of working together. Marcus marveled at how naturally they complemented each other, his practical engineering expertise blending seamlessly with her advanced technical knowledge. "Marcus," Celine called out suddenly, "look at this." She projected a schematic of their hybrid ship. "If we reroute power through the auxiliary systems, we could mask our energy signature," he finished, catching her thought. "Make it harder for both the probe and the patrol ship to track us." She smiled, and his heart skipped a beat. Even in their desperate situation, her smile affected him like nothing else in the universe. A distant rumble reminded them that the crystalline predators were still hunting. They had set up a perimeter of sonic emitters to keep the creatures at bay, but the barrier wouldn't last forever. As they installed the last major components, Celine suddenly went still. "Marcus, there's something else you should know." She hesitated, then continued. "The patrol ship, its commander is Ryler Viachar. My former betrothed." Marcus's hands froze on the control panel. "Betrothed?" "An arranged union, common among high-ranking Astrian families," she explained. "I never felt for him what I—" She met Marcus's eyes, "What I feel for you." Before Marcus could respond, their proximity alerts blared. The Drachnid probe had arrived early, its sleek form visible against the purple sky. At the same time, their perimeter sensors warned of multiple crystalline predators converging on their position. "We need to launch now," Marcus said, rushing to secure the last connections. "Ready or not." They sealed themselves inside their hybrid craft, quickly running through emergency startup procedures. The ship's systems protested the fusion of different technologies, but slowly, power began to flow. "Multiple targets approaching," Celine reported from her station. "The probe is scanning us, and the predators are breaking through the sonic barrier." Marcus engaged the makeshift engines, praying they would hold together. "Routing power to shields. Let's hope your stealth modifications work." The ship shuddered as it lifted off the ground. Through the view screen, they watched the Drachnid probe turn toward them, its sensors probing their vessel. Below, massive crystalline forms emerged from the ground, their faceted limbs reaching for the departing ship. "The probe's weapons are charging," Celine warned. "Our hybrid shields won't withstand a direct hit." Marcus pushed their engines harder, ignoring the warning lights flashing across his console. "Can we fight back?" "Not without revealing ourselves as a military target." Celine's hands flew across her controls. "But maybe we can trick it." She activated a sequence that sent pulses of quantum energy cascading across their hull. The probe's sensors seemed confused, unable to categorize their unique energy signature. Their moment of triumph was short-lived. A new alert sounded: the Astrian patrol ship had arrived ahead of schedule. It appeared in orbit above them, its elegant form graceful yet menacing. "Ryler," Celine whispered, her voice a mixture of emotions. The patrol ship's communications array activated, attempting to establish contact. At the same time, the Drachnid probe finally classified their vessel as a threat and launched its first attack run. "We can't fight both," Marcus said, executing evasive maneuvers. "And we can't outrun them. Not in atmosphere." Celine reached across the space between their stations, taking his hand. "Then we do something unexpected." She input a series of commands, redirecting power in ways that made Marcus's engineering training scream in protest. "Do you trust me?" He squeezed her hand. "With everything." Their hybrid ship turned toward the planet's largest moon, accelerating to dangerous speeds. The Drachnid probe followed, while the Astrian patrol ship moved to cut off their escape route. "Whatever happens," Celine said, her eyes locked with his, "meeting you was worth everything." Marcus smiled back, his heart full despite their desperate situation. "We're not done yet." Their ship screamed through the atmosphere, pushing the limits of their combined technology, racing toward either escape or oblivion. Above them, the patrol ship loomed. Behind them, the probe pursued. And between them all, the vast expanse of space beckoned with both promise and peril. As they prepared for their most daring maneuver yet, Marcus and Celine drew strength from each other's presence. Their love, born among the stars and tested by duty and danger, had become something greater than either of them had imagined possible. Now it would face its greatest test, as they attempted the impossible to forge a future together. Their hybrid ship hurtled toward Kepler 186f's largest moon, caught between the pursuing Drachnid probe and the Astrian patrol ship commanded by Celine's former betrothed. Warning lights flashed across every console as their cobbled-together systems strained against the gravitational forces. "They're charging weapons," Celine reported, her silver eyes reflecting the emergency lights. "Ryler won't fire directly at us, but he'll try to disable our engines." Marcus's hands flew across the controls, pushing their ship to its limits. "Perfect. That's exactly what we need." Celine looked at him sharply. "You have a plan? Remember how we met? That gravitational anomaly that crashed my ship?" A slight smile played across his face. "It wasn't random. I was mapping a network of natural quantum tunnels, microscopic wormholes that connect this system to others." Understanding dawned in Celine's eyes. "That's why the Earth Alliance sent you here. If these tunnels could be stabilized, they'd revolutionize space travel," Marcus finished. "But right now, we just need one of them to work long enough for an escape." The Astrian ship fired its first warning shot, a pulse of energy that crackled past their port side. At the same time, the Drachnid probe launched a barrage of microtorpedoes, forcing them into a spiral evasive pattern. "Marcus," Celine called out, "the probe's attack pattern, it's not trying to destroy us. It's hurting us toward that lunar crater." Marcus checked his readings and grinned. "That's where the strongest tunnel signature is. The probe must have detected it and wants to study our ship before eliminating us. Can we use that?" "We already are." He input a series of commands, redirecting power from their shields to the quantum matrix Celine had salvaged. "Your people's quantum drive technology might be able to stabilize the tunnel just long enough for one jump." A communication signal cut through their channel. "Scout Commander Vialari," a stern male voice said in Astrian, "your behavior is a disgrace to your position and your family. Return to your duty immediately." Celine's hand found Marcus's as she replied in English, ensuring he could understand. "My duty is to protect our people, Ryler. What I've found here, what I've learned, could save both our civilizations. The Drachnids don't have to win." "You're allowing emotion to cloud your judgment," Ryler responded, switching to English as well. "This human has corrupted your thinking." "No," Celine said firmly. "He's opened my eyes. Humanity isn't a resource to be used or discarded. They could be our greatest allies, if we approach them with respect instead of conquest." The Drachnid probe suddenly accelerated, launching another barrage. This time, several torpedoes struck their hull, sending cascading damage reports through their systems. "Quantum matrix destabilizing," Marcus reported. "We've got one shot at this." Celine took control of their weapons array. "The probe's sensors are its weak point. One direct hit should blind it long enough for us to make our jump." They moved in perfect sync, Marcus pushing their failing ship toward the quantum tunnel's coordinates while Celine timed her shot. The probe dove toward them, its weapons charging for a killing blow. The Astrian ship maintained pursuit, but held its fire, Ryler perhaps unwilling to risk Celine's life despite his anger. "Now!" Marcus called out. Celine fired. Their hybrid weapons, Earth Alliance plasma tech combined with Astrian quantum targeting, struck the probe's sensor array. The machine spiraled away, momentarily blinded. Marcus activated the quantum matrix, pushing it far beyond safe limits. Space itself seemed to twist around them as the natural tunnel responded to their technology. Warning klaxons blared as their hull began to buckle under the strain. "It's working," Celine exclaimed, watching the sensor readings. "The tunnel is stabilizing." Through their view screen, they watched reality fold in impossible ways. The probe recovered and fired again, but too late, their ship was already half-phased into the quantum tunnel. The Astrian patrol ship's final transmission cut off midward as they were enveloped in swirling quantum energies. The journey through the tunnel lasted both an eternity and an instant. When they emerged, they found themselves in a familiar system, the blue-white light of Earth's sun shining in the distance. "We made it," Marcus breathed, running damage reports. "Though our ship may never fly again. The patrol ship will track us here eventually," Celine said. "And the probe transmitted data back to the Drachnids before we escaped. Both our peoples are in danger now." Marcus turned to her, taking both her hands in his. "Then we'd better make the most of the time we have. Your knowledge of the Drachnids, combined with my quantum tunnel research, we could help forge an alliance between Earth and the Astrians. Give both our peoples a real chance against the Drachnid threat." Celine's aurora hair shimmered with hope and determination. "It won't be easy. There will be resistance on both sides. Many will say our love is impossible, that our species are too different. They said reaching the stars was impossible once," Marcus replied with a smile. "Humanity's done pretty well with impossible things." As their damaged ship limped toward Earth, Celine and Marcus began composing their message, not just to Earth's governments or the Astrian High Command, but to all their people. Their love, born among distant stars and tested by duty and danger, had shown them a truth that both civilizations needed to understand: the greatest strength comes not from standing alone, but from joining hands across the vastness of space. They would face challenges ahead. The Drachnids were still coming. Political opposition would try to tear them apart. But as they approached the blue planet that would become their new home, Marcus and Celine knew that they had already achieved something remarkable. They had proven that love could bridge the gap between worlds, that understanding could overcome fear, and that sometimes the greatest adventures begin with a single mistake, one night that truly did change everything. The hybrid ship sailed on through the star-studded darkness, carrying with it the hope of two civilizations and the love of two beings who had found each other against impossible odds. Above them, the endless expanse of space stretched out like an open book, ready for the next chapter of their story to begin.